Hi everyone! Today I'm going to demonstrate how to crochet the herringbone double crochet stitch. This easy crochet stitch is perfectly suitable for beginners and is almost the same as a double crochet stitch. For this project I used King Cole Ultra Soft Chunky yarn. It is available in 100 gram 3.5 ounce balls and contains approximately 158 yards, which is 145 meters. For my herringbone double scarf, I used 300 yards in total, so 2 balls of this yarn, and the color I'm using is called Fern. This yarn is very soft and warm, and it makes lovely winter garments. For the scarf, I used a 6mm J crochet hook. This is my Clover and Moore hook. But you can make this project with any yarn and hook combination. Solid color yarns really show off the herringbone detail in the stitch. Now I'm going to demonstrate how to make the herringbone double crochet stitch. If you'd like to make the scarf project that I made, you will need to begin with a chain of 122 or chain with the yarn and hook that you're using until you reach a length of 60 inches. Then add 3 extra chains. For my demonstration, I'm going to be using 15 chain stitches to begin. So to start, create a slip knot and place it on your hook. And chain 15 stitches if you're making the sample with me, chain 122 stitches if you're making the scarf, or chain until you reach 60 inches in length, and then add 3 extra chains. Once you have the number of stitches you need, we're going to skip the first 3 chains, and these first 3 chains are going to be counting as our first herringbone double crochet stitch. Now we're going to yarn over and insert your hook into the next chain. This is the 4th chain from the hook. Yarn over and pull up 1 loop. Now pull that same loop through the first loop on your hook. Yarn over and pull through 1 loop. Yarn over and pull through the remaining 2 loops on your hook. So we repeat this all the way across the foundation chain, making 1 herringbone double crochet in each chain across. So again, yarn over the hook, insert the hook into the next chain, yarn over and pull up 1 loop, and pull that same loop through the first loop on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the next loop on your hook, yarn over and pull through the remaining 2 loops on your hook. At the end of the row, you will have 120 herringbone double crochet stitches if you began with 122 chains. For my sample, I have 13 herringbone double crochet stitches. For row 2 and every row after that, you'll work a chain 3, which is going to count as your first herringbone double crochet stitch. And because we're counting that as a stitch, we skip the stitch immediately beneath that. Then work 1 herringbone double crochet in each stitch across until you get to the last stitch of the row. When you reach the end of the row, remember you need to work into the top of the chain 3. That was that first chain 3 that we skipped. Because we're treating that as a herringbone double crochet stitch, you need to work into it or you'll lose a stitch on every row of your project. So work your herringbone double crochet stitch into the top of those 3 chains to finish the row. For every other row for the project, you're going to work the same set of stitches, beginning with your chain 3 and ending your row by working into that initial chain 3 from the previous row. If you're worried you're going to miss the 1 stitch at the end of the row, you can place a stitch marker into the top of your initial chain 3 to remind you when you get back there that you need to work into that as a stitch. So for the third row, it's exactly the same as the second row. You do your chain 3, that's counting as your first stitch. We'll skip the stitch beneath it and work 1 herringbone double crochet in each stitch across. And at the end of the row, make sure you work into the top of the initial chain 3 from the previous row, and then you repeat that for every row of the project. For the herringbone double scarf, we work until we have 13 rows in total before we add our edging. If you're using a different yarn and hook, you would work until your scarf width measures 6.5 inches. But the scarf looks great even without that edging, so if you prefer and you don't want to add the edging, you can skip that entirely. If you do want to add the edging, you'll have to pop back onto the video once you've done your rows for your scarf and skip to the section for the edging. So keep working your rows until your scarf is as wide as you'd like it to be, and then pop back to the video so I can show you the fun edging I added to mine. For the demonstration on how to add the edging, I'm showing you how to add the second edging to the scarf so you can see how to join with a single crochet stitch. If you are working on the first edge, all you need to do is remember to chain 1 and rotate your work, and then work across the side edge to make 20 single crochet stitches. For those of you who are adding the yarn to the side edge or changing to have a different colored edging than the main scarf color, you place a slip knot on your hook and then insert your hook into the corner stitch of the scarf, yarn over and pull up 1 loop, yarn over and pull through both loops on the hook to create your first single crochet stitch. Now you make 19 more single crochet stitches across that side edge. At the end of row 1, you'll have 20 single crochet stitches. For row 2, turn your work, chain 1, and make 1 slip stitch in the front loop of the first stitch. Skip the next stitch and make 5 double crochet stitches in the front loop of the next stitch. Skip the next stitch, work 1 slip stitch in the front loop of the next stitch, skip the next 2 stitches, and make 5 double crochet stitches in the front loop of the next stitch. We'll repeat that all the way across until you have 2 stitches remaining. So skip the next stitch, make a slip stitch in the front loop of the next stitch, skip the next 2 stitches, make 5 double crochets in the front loop of the next stitch, repeat that all the way across. When you have 2 stitches left, skip the first stitch and make 1 slip stitch in the last stitch. At the end of that row, you have 20 double crochet stitches and 5 slip stitches. For row 3, chain 1, turn your work. For the first stitch, we're going to be working through both of the layers. So you're going to make your first slip stitch in the remaining front loop of the first stitch and through both loops of the slip stitch from the previous row. We're going to skip the next stitch and make 5 double crochets in the remaining front loop of the next stitch. You'll see there are already 5 double crochet stitches worked in the back loop there. Then we'll skip the next 2 stitches, make 1 slip stitch in the remaining front loop of the next stitch, and through both loops of the slip stitch from the previous row. Skip the next stitch, make 5 double crochets in the remaining front loop of the next stitch. This is where we already have the 5 double crochets in the back loop. And then we repeat this sequence all the way across until you have 2 stitches left. So skip the next 2 stitches, make 1 slip stitch in the remaining front loop of the next stitch and through both loops of the slip stitch from the previous row. Skip the next stitch and make 5 double crochets in the remaining front loop of the next stitch, where we already have the 5 double crochets in the back loop. So work this all the way across until you have 2 stitches left. Skip the next stitch, and make 1 slip stitch in the remaining front loop of the next stitch and through both loops of the slip stitch from the previous row. You can chain 1 to finish off. At the end of row 3, you have 20 double crochets and 5 slip stitches. So we repeat this for the other edge, weave in all of our ends, and our scarf is done. Thank you for watching this tutorial to learn how to crochet the herringbone double crochet stitch and to make the herringbone double scarf. Please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more tutorials and visit my website, umbalkadesignCrochet.com, for more free crochet patterns. Thanks so much and have a great day.